Hi, this is Dr. Toby, your host on Health and Wellness. We've got a great show with Charles and Helen Beatty. Charles is the CEO of Mississippi Food Network, ably supported by his wife Helen. They are both doctorate degree holders. Helen went to Mississippi State University and Tougaloo. Charles went to Michigan State University. They've been married 26 years. Charles was a former president of Piney Woods High School College and now is leading the Mississippi Food Network that takes care of 150,000 hungry Mississippians. Yes, 150,000 hungry Mississippians every month. Mississippi is officially the hungriest state in the nation, and he's leading the charge in 56 counties to bring food to these people. He says for every dollar you give him, he can put food on the table for 6 individuals. We are supporting him. We want you to support him, but they have a great story to tell. You will love to hear their story. God bless you. Jesus is Lord. Hi, this is Dr. Toby, your host on Health and Wellness. Thank you for joining us. Don't touch that dial. We have a great show with Dr. Charles and Helen Beatty. These are excellent young men. I call them young because they've done so much in their short lifetime. Dr. Charles Beatty has a bachelor's in advertising, a master's in urban counseling, and a PhD in counselor education from Michigan State University. His wife, Helen, also has a PhD and is working in the health field, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And they've been such a blessing to my wife and I and to the Mississippi community. I wanted to bring them on board to share what they're doing with the Mississippi Food Network, especially to alleviate hunger in the midst of such poverty in Mississippi. Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you so much, Charles, for joining us. We're so grateful. God bless you. It's an honor and it's a privilege to have you on the show today. So tell us a bit about this Mississippi Food Network. Let's go straight into that. I mean, I know you have, you're an author. I know you have several things, but a lot of my viewers and those who know you in Mississippi know you as the CEO of the Food Network. So I wanted to just hone in on that. What exactly is the Mississippi Food Network?
Mississippi Food Network, we are a food bank. A food bank is a charitable organization that receives, warehouses, and distributes food to those who need it. I used to say to the poor, but the pandemic has demonstrated to us that delivering or getting food to the folks who need it is about more than getting it to the poor. We are a member of the Feeding America network of food banks. There are about 200 food banks in that network nationally. We are one of maybe 15 food banks that in the state of Mississippi. We're the only Feeding America food bank physically located within the parameters of the state. Most states have 2, 3, 4, 5 food banks. We only have one affiliated with Feeding America. We're located on Beatty Street.
Okay.
There's a little story to that.
Okay.
I used to run a boarding school. After leaving that boarding school, went to work for a friend of mine in the Virgin Islands. We were there for 5 years, and I got a call from a friend who indicated that there was a position available in back in Mississippi. We never sold our home in Mississippi. And Helen and I are prayer warriors. So we prayed for the job with my name on it. When we found out that Mississippi Food Network was located on Beatty Street, we thought that was God's way of saying it's time to go home.
So who was the Beatty they named the street after?
Well, I'm B-E-A-D-Y. The street is B-E-A-T-T-Y. God has an interesting sense of humor. You know that. So it's spelled differently, but it's pronounced the same.
Wow.
So again, getting back to what we do and how we do it, we're located on Beatty Street. We have 2 warehouses, one to the north, side of Beatty Street and one to the south side. We have about 60,000 square feet of space on the north side, 20,000 square feet of space on the south side. We get our food from three sources: the federal government, donated, and purchased. Right now, there's about 1.5 million pounds of food sitting on the warehouse floor.
Wow.
In about a month, that 1.5 million will be gone, and another 1.5 million replace it. Prior to the pandemic, we were distributing maybe 21, 22 million pounds of food. At the height of the pandemic, we ended up distributing 42.6 million pounds of food. After the pandemic, now we're distributing about 26 million pounds of food.
Wow.
So we're distributing more than we did. Right now, we're distributing more than we did prior to the pandemic, but not quite as much as we did at the height of the pandemic. We distribute food through about 430 agencies throughout the state of Mississippi. Our service area is 56 counties, 38,000 square miles.
Wow.
Those pantries, again, are located pretty much throughout our service area. If they're within 50-mile radius of the warehouse, they'll come pick up the food that they order. Now, put order in parentheses. We don't sell anything,
Right.
but they order it by internet. By computer.
Right.
If they're within a 50-mile radius, they'll come pick up the food and take it back to their respective distribution area. If they're outside of that radius, we'll load up our 18-wheelers. We have about three or four of those, three 18-wheelers.
Wow.
We'll load up 40 or 50,000 pounds of food, send it to a distribution area or a drop-off area. Then the agencies in that area will come pick it up and take it back to their respective communities for distribution. That's basically how we do it.
And my viewers who are used to us talking about health care, a lot of you are like, does this have to do with health care? Food is actually the first foundation of health care.
And the new medicine.
And it's a new medicine. Food is like new medicine, right?
Yeah, food is medicine.
You know, so the reason why we're sharing this is because you cannot be a healer. My show is titled Health and Wellness without talking about food security. I can give you the best medicine, but if you're not eating right, I'm wasting my time.
Absolutely.
You know.
And Mississippi is the hungriest state in the nation. Every night in our great state, over 600,000 people go to bed either hungry or not knowing how or when they're going to get their next meal. That includes some 220,000 children and over 100,000 senior citizens. And our job is to get as much food as we can
Now,
to
Mississippi
that population.
has only 2-3 million people. So that
2.8 million.
2.8
so you're saying like 1 in 5 Mississippians goes to bed hungry.
every
Right.
night.
That is a
Well,
lot.
not necessarily.
Not every night.
Hungry,
but
hungry
on
or not
their-
knowing how or when
when
they're going to
to
get
get
their
their
next
food.
meal. Hungry or food insecure.
Wow. That's a large number. Now, tell us how Mississippi Food Network is working hard to reduce this number of hungry Mississippians. I know you're doing everything with your agencies, but just practically on the ground, boots on the ground, on a daily basis, how have you, over the last, how many years have you been at the Food Network?
This is my 9th year. Well, I just finished 9 years,
Wow.
going into the 10th. But we have nutritionists on staff. They'll go out to the various agencies in our service area. They'll talk to the people about how to serve or prepare prepare and eat nutritious food. So we have people on staff who will talk to the people who are in our service area in need of food about how to prepare it and how to best serve it.
Wow.
The other thing is that you have to just really focus on the Food Network is the entity within itself. It has its pantries, the tentacles all over the state. But it's important that you have partnerships and collaborations in order to be able to help facilitate not only the teaching about healthy eating, but learning to read a label. or encouraging individuals to begin a garden, a community garden,
Right.
or even if you give a person an eggplant and they've never seen an eggplant or chickpeas, it's critical that they probably won't prepare it. And it's a healthy, fresh vegetable. So you have to really teach them that awareness and knowledge and education about the nutritional value of certain foods.
So, Miss Helen, Dr. Helen, tell us a bit about how you got involved. You were in the Virgin Islands, living on the beach, enjoying the community, and then he tells you, "Let's go back to Jackson, Mississippi." I mean, obviously your family is here, so I guess you were obviously inclined towards it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
But tell us how you've motivated, inspired. This is 9 years now. You've been part of the story for the last 9 years.
That is correct. Actually, my siblings, we started a family foundation to honor the legacy of our parents. Both of our parents died in July of 2002, roughly 10 days apart. And they were just staunch supporters and volunteers in the community. Every year, this time in the summer months coming into the early fall, they would have this gigantuous garden
Oh, wow.
and would prepare vegetables. And one of the things, my siblings, it was 11 of us, and we would often laugh that all of our friends were playing kickball and baseball and football outside, and we were sitting on the front porch shelling peas and shucking corn. But nonetheless, my parents would actually supply a number of individuals in the community with those fresh fruits and fresh vegetables and any other fruits that we had that she would can and prepare, for us to have healthy options across the summer months. But anyway, we formalized our family foundation roughly 9 years ago in 2014. And basically, that work has started just as a summer school program, a feeding initiative, actually partnering with the Mississippi Food Network, because this is one of the things that they will do. They will partner with other organizations in the community who are interested in teaching others about nutrition, not only food insecurity, hunger, but nutrition security is the medicine part of that. And so we started at the school where my mom worked as a cook for 15 years. That was our initial project, but that project has morphed into a lot since that time.
And
so
what town was that?
we grew up in Bolivar County and
Bolivar.
Cleveland,
Okay.
Mississippi, and the Mississippi, one of the 18 counties that makes up the Mississippi Delta.
Right.
Yes.
And they keep saying in America the Delta is the poorest. I don't know if it's still true,
Yeah.
but they make that statement that the Delta is the poorest part of America,
True.
There was a story I read it in BBC, Clarksdale, the poorest city in America. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is not good news for Clarksdale.
Right. Well, Clarksdale is actually 32 miles from where we
From
grew
where you
up
grew up,
in
right.
Cleveland, and you're exactly right. And to be very honest with you, when you start to think about the concentration of African Americans in Mississippi, most of your African Americans are concentrated roughly about 69 point, maybe 3 or 4% in the Mississippi Delta. A little under 70% are in the Mississippi Delta. It is the poorest quarter, and you're exactly right. Unless you move health in the Mississippi Delta, with that roughly 18%, 18% population, you will never move health in America.
Wow. So what advice would you give spouses who want, for example, we have a lot of spouses who compliment, who support, and some of the ladies watching want to know, okay, Ms. B, Dr. B, Helen, you've supported Charles over the last 9 years. How can I support my husband? Did you take a back seat? Did your vision, did your career take a back seat? Did you just wait on the sidelines till he called you to work? Did you volunteer? Were you voluntold? So my question, and this is for the wives out there, how can a wife like Helen be a good support for Charles, and that role model be emulated by my viewers who are watching today?
No backseat partnership. Go for it.
That's right. It's definitely a partnership. I have my own personality. So basically, a lot of what we do is, as my husband stated, we are truly prayer warriors, and we try to be led by what the Lord has given us direction to do. Everything that we set out to do, of course, like most people, some things just don't come to fruition, but we think that that's God's plan. But in terms of me supporting the work of my husband. I have always done that, but I am my own person and I have my own career. I am the secretary of our board of directors of our foundation.
Okay.
But I'm the executive director of our foundation as well. So the work, how does it complement what my husband does? Nutrition security is the backdrop of a lot of the work that we do. Given we're working in Mississippi, it's the hungriest state in the nation. In the Mississippi Delta, you've got that large concentration. One of the things that it's kind of a joke. My husband tells everybody every 5 years my wife is going to reinvent herself doing something else. It's kind of a standing joke with us. But I'm so thankful that he's supportive of these visions that I've had, because after we were married, I had a stellar career working in industry as a senior level human resource director in several major corporations. But after we married, I was working with Uncle Ben's as HR director there with Uncle Ben's Rice.
Wow.
And so he was back at Piney Woods, but it's just something about
Where's
having
Pineywood?
Piney Woods Country Life School back in Jackson. That's correct.
South of Jackson.
South of Jackson, yeah.
It was a charter school or private school?
Well, Piney Woods is one of 4 of the historically black boarding schools left in the country. So I was the 3rd president of that school starting in 1984.
It's a high school.
It's when it was founded, it had an elementary component.
Okay.
It had a daycare. It had an elementary component. It had a junior high component and a high school. So there were about, when I was there, about 300 students from about 39 states, a couple of African countries, as a matter of fact. And the youngsters came primarily from poor backgrounds, but they went to college after graduation from Piney Woods at rates that exceeded the national average. It's still existing.
Wow.
I haven't been there in a while.
Awesome. Wow. So you said while he was at Piney Woods, you were at Uncle Ben's.
Oh, yes, and I was commuting back and forth. I would fly back home
From
at
where were
Houston.
you?
Actually, I was based in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Excuse me, we had a home there. And my dad told me, he said, all couples should be together in their own home. So at that point,
And sleeping in the
same
bed.
bed is what he said.
That's what he said.
Wow,
That's
your
exactly.
dad is a real
Oh yeah, he's a man was a
conservative-
man of infinite wisdom,
That's a true statement, though.
yeah. So I actually gave up that role at Uncle Ben and joined my husband full time in his work. He's a consummate fundraiser, so a lot of the work that he did in the fundraising has a social component to it. So we were planning a lot of events, and I would join him at we've been to more churches and synagogues and mosques and everything else you can name across the United States and abroad, spreading the good news of Piney Woods and what it would do in the lives of children. But certainly, that complemented what he did, but I was a business owner. I became a business owner at that time. And he's always been supportive of the things that I've tried to do.
I have to share this. We don't have a whole lot of time, I know, but one of the things that made me fall in love with my wife was her family. And when she
How many years ago was that you met your
27, 28
We're going on
years
27
ago.
years, yeah.
So her father was not an educated man,
Right.
but he was a very bright man. Her mother was not an educated lady, but she was a very bright lady.
Right.
Her family, she has how many? 12 siblings?
It was 11
A
of us.
psychiatrist in a bunch.
Well, I know
dentist
Dr.
in a
Glenn.
bunch.
Yeah,
I know the
yeah.
dentist.
Right.
Yeah. So
And they just, like my mother and father did, emphasize education
Wow.
as your way up the socioeconomic ladder. But I fell in love with her family,
Wow.
and that's what made me fall
And
in
you
love
came
with
to
her.
Mississippi because of her.
no,
No.
no, he
Because
was
you
already here.
schooled in Michigan.
Well, she went to MSU
Oh.
in Mississippi. I went to MSU, Michigan State University, in Michigan.
Yeah.
So we both went to MSUs, but different MSUs
Right.
in different
But what
states.
brought you to Mississippi?
I was working as a associate professor at Morgan State University. Got a call from a fellow who introduced himself as the chairman of the board of the Piney Woods School, and they were looking for somebody to succeed the second president I had been referred by a friend of mine, Walter Farrell, and I wonder what had I done to Walter and make him want to send me to Mississippi. I came down, interviewed for the position, was pleasantly surprised, and stayed there for 20 years. So
Wow.
that's what brought me to Mississippi.
Ah, and that's when you met Dr. Helen.
Right, right. We
Oh,
were
okay.
on the speaking circuit. I was giving a presentation. What was it, Mississippi University?
Mississippi
for Women?
University for Women.
She was on the program, and I was on the
Oh,
program.
wow.
We locked eyes, and that was
Oh,
it.
really? Okay. Interesting. So I wanted to get a scope of the work you do. You said you served at the peak 40 million, is that meals or
That's 40 million pounds.
40 million
Found
pounds?
it 42.6 million pounds of food at the height of the pandemic.
Right.
We're serving about 150,000 people a month.
That's what I was trying to get.
Yeah, about 150,000 people a month.
month. Okay. In
And
50 counties or 56 counties.
well, 56 counties. There are 80-some counties in the
82.
state.
In the
82
state.
counties in the state. We directly serve the 56 counties, but indirectly we serve all 82 counties because we're getting food from USDA, and we facilitate getting food to the other counties through the couple of other food banks that are responsible for getting food to the people who need it also. That would include the food bank out of Memphis, Tennessee. They serve 18 counties in North Mississippi, and the food bank out of Alabama, feeding the Gulf Coast. They serve 8 counties. When you add all that together, we got 3 food banks essentially serving the state, but we're the primary server with the 56 counties, and again, 38,000 square miles, and that's no easy task.
So you're a 501c. Your donors get a tax deductible. They're tax deductible gifts, right?
Absolutely, we're 501c3.
Now, what do you say if people say, "Oh, I don't want to give anything to the government. I don't think the government is a good manager of resources." Are you government or are you non-government? My viewers are just asking that.
Well, we're non-government, but if you contribute to the work that we do, you get a tax write-off. For every $1 that we get donated to us, we're able to provide 6 meals. So it's a good return on your investment if you're making that investment.
So
if
for
you're not
$1, you feed 6 meals.
six meals,
Or
exactly.
potentially 6 people, potentially.
Exactly.
Wow, wow.
If
that's
you don't give
awesome.
it to us, you're going to give it to the government or somebody you might not want to
You
give
don't
it
might
to.
not want to give it to. Wow. Okay, so you said the USDA is your major funder. Am I correct?
Well, about 60% of our food comes from USDA,
Which means United States
Department of
Agriculture.
Department of
Agriculture.
Agriculture. Okay, good. Then the rest, I just want to get my viewers to know how they can support. So where did the 40% come from?
Either we purchase it, and that's where the donations come in. With the donations that we get, we're able to purchase healthy, nutritious food, and then the other percentage is donated. We have the U.S. Postal Service collects food for us on various occasions. The major food market, the grocery stores,
Right.
contribute
The
leftover
fresh
food.
markets and all those.
Exactly. So we get food from 3 sources again: federal government, donated, and purchased.
Wow, that's impressive. And those that are donated, how do they bring it to the warehouse? I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, do you expect people who have old, we don't expect them to bring expired products, but if somebody wants to donate, what do they do? How do they do
I'll give
it?
you an example. We have a yearly food drive, sort of a competition between high schools in the area. Madison Central High School in Mississippi collected over 40,000 pounds of food,
Wow.
a truck trailer load of food, and one of our friends who owns a trucking company donated the trailer for them to put the food in. We hooked up the trailer, brought it to the warehouse, and our folks unloaded it.
40,000.
So that was one example of how we get some
Wow.
of the food.
Wow, wow. So my viewers are watching. They want to know how they can support. I know you have a website. I know you have an address. What would you recommend is the easiest way for them to join hands with, not eliminating, but reducing the food insecurity in the Mississippi area?
Well, we distribute food to those who need it, and we're good at it. the best way for someone to support the work that we do is to go to the website, look at how you might want to be able to donate to the work that we do, follow the instructions, send us whatever touches your heart in terms of a donation, and we'll put it to good use.
What is that website?
www.msfoodnet.org.
MS. And today we have a gift for them actually. I'm looking for it, but I don't. Maybe it's outside. We have a check for $1,000 from the Association of Nigerian Physicians in America. Where did I put that? I had it here. Maybe my wife took it out. But we have a check for $1,000. We had a big plaque. So we're going to show that later on in the show. But that's just an example. For those of you who are out there, the Nigerian physicians in Mississippi gathered together, pooled some money together, and we raised $1,000 to support the Mississippi Food Network. And today we are honored, we're privileged to show this to them and say thank you for the work you do. Thank you to Helen and Charles. And I want you to join in supporting the Mississippi Food Network. You can do it. $1 feeds 6 people. You can make a difference. A child doesn't have to go to bed hungry anymore in the state of Mississippi, the hungriest state in the country. So look it up. Go to the website, Mississippi Food Network. They have several opportunities that you can join them to support this. They can give by PayPal. They can give by credit card. You can mail a check. You can even donate food items. And don't forget what Jesus said. When you gave the food to the hungry, you were giving it to us, to him. The least of this, you were giving it to him. So churches, you can get involved. Individuals, you can get involved. Schools, you can get involved. All to help the name of Jesus Christ be lifted up. So on behalf of the Association of Nigerian Physicians in America, Mississippi chapter, we're delighted to raise and deliver $1,000 gift to the Mississippi Food Network in support of the great work they're doing. Thank you so much. God bless. All right. So don't forget, we're here again next week. We're going to be hearing about Charles and Helen's journey through life. They are both PhD holders. They have a lot of stories. I'm sure you'll be intrigued. I'm sure you'll be encouraged. They'll share their background and how they got to where they are. They've walked the talk. They've done what others have not done. And they've stayed together through it all, almost 27, 28 years. You don't want to miss their story. Join us at the end of the month. Every last Friday, we have our Holy Ghost Night. Holy Ghost Night, it's holding at the Assembly West Monroe, the Junior High Center. It's 11 p.m. every last Friday of the month. We're praying, we're prophesying, we're preaching 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. You don't want to miss it. It's explosive. It's a great time in God's presence. Jesus is Lord. God bless you.